Hello, CoachCrate family. Welcome to your happiness month. Today we are talking about how we can make happiness a habit. And especially coming off our habit month, it's the perfect segue to kick off our month really strong. So this month, as we are working to increase our happiness, one really important thing to highlight as we begin is the fact that you do have an impact on how happy you are every day. And sometimes that feels really hard or maybe not even possible because of either depression or a trauma or tragedy that you've recently experienced or something else external to life that is a threat to your joy or is a threat to your happiness. And all of those things definitely contribute to the amount of happiness that we have. But I'm here to tell you and to remind you and to nurture you and love you and say, you still have a say. You still get to choose happy, as it says on our box, and really be the leader of okay, so if there are certain factors that I can't control about my happiness, what factors can I control? There is a percent that we get to take captive and say, nope, I'm going to choose happy. I'm going to work for happiness. I'm going to fight for happiness in my life. All of that to say that if you are going through a hard time right now, that is totally okay. This month is not about shaming you into feeling happy. It's not about putting pressure or obligation or worth into happiness. It's actually about taking all of that pressure off and saying, what can we do? How can we empower ourselves to love life more, to be more engaged, to feel more joy, to feel more happiness on a daily basis, but also on a long-term level. In this video, we're talking about that segue of taking that empowerment and turning it into actions, also known as turning it into habits, right? So coming off of our habit month, we have the energy. We know we've now learned so much about how to successfully build habits that we can actually use that this month to help us with our happiness. So per usual, I have some questions to kick us off. The first one is, what kind of actions or habits do you have that promote happiness in your life? And this could be things like always having a cup of tea or coffee in the morning before you start your day. That's a really happy thing for you. Or maybe it's spending 15 minutes tucking your kids into bed every night. It could be playing with your pet for 5 minutes before you head to work. Whatever it is, but what little things do you do on a daily basis that brings joy and happiness into your life? Okay, second question is, what habits actively take away happiness from you? So I want to talk a little bit more about this because sometimes the habits that we have are very unconscious and we go through the day doing them, not realizing that they're not bringing joy into our life, or even worse, that they're actively causing us pain. So that could be if you're spending, an hour out of your day on Instagram, just scrolling mindlessly. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't do the dishes. I didn't do all of these things that I wanted to do. And I feel bad now. That would be a habit that is actively working against your happiness. But you see the difference between that versus popping on Instagram and checking out some of your friends' stories or whatever, and for 15 minutes and having it not impact your life. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at things that actively don't really make you feel good. So what this means is if you didn't do this last month, or if you weren't with us last month, it's time to kind of reflect a little bit on your daily actions and go into how they're actually making you feel. So take some time. You don't have to think about this a lot, but just pause the video, go through your day, either yesterday or how it's been going today, and think about your actions in that sort of a sense. Think about your habits in the terms of what it brought into your life. Once you know the things that aren't positively contributing, the nice thing is we can do one of two things, which is up here. I don't know if you can fully read it, but if it's the Maya Angelou quote that says, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. That's exactly what we can do with these habits. We can either change the habits or we can change our attitude about the habits. So for example, if paying bills or something like that doesn't bring you joy, doesn't bring you happiness, makes you frustrated or whatever, how can we change your attitude to have that be a more positive thing in your life? Would it be a perspective shift that says, okay, instead of being frustrated about losing all my money to bills, I'm going to look at it like, wow, I get to have clean water and I get to have heat, and I'm so grateful that I make the money I do so that I can have these like awesome things in my life or whatever it is. So we can start to shift our attitude towards things, which in the overall grand scheme of things makes us happier, more positive people. So that's one thing that we can do, looking at our actions and our habits that are not necessarily bringing joy into our lives, is we can kind of work to change our perspective around those things. The other thing that we can do, obviously with our first question, we explored the things that you are already doing, so we can build off of those things that are already bringing joy into your life. And the other thing is we can add more things that promote your happiness into your life. And these are not always things like going on a sunset romantic hike or having a day at the spa or things like that. It can be things like cleaning up your kitchen, because when you walk in, it makes you feel happy to have a clean kitchen. So the things that promote happiness are not always the things that give us instant pleasure or instant gratification. This is why we really want to look at this balance of what does happy mean to you. That's what we're exploring in the book. That's what we're exploring in this whole month. But what really at a core level makes you feel good? So what we're looking at is we're looking at those core happy things. We're looking at the things that bring us joy and that we enjoy in life, not just the things that make us feel good in that moment and then disappear, which we'll talk about a lot in a different video. So going on from what we're talking about, once we know where we're spending our energy, what we're doing with our actions, we can either grow the actions that are bringing happiness into our life, we can change our perspective, our attitude, or change the habits that are not bringing happiness or actively working against our happiness. And then we can add new habits that do promote our overall idea of what happiness is. And we'll continue to work through this as we go through the month and as you explore and discover what feels good and what makes you happy. The final piece to this little happiness as a habit puzzle is the fact that sometimes the habits that make you happy are not easy to do. Sometimes they do take a little bit of work and transition to shift into. And giving yourself that grace and that love as we work through this month and as you search for more happiness and more enjoyment in your life is really, really important. Because as I said at the beginning of this video, the whole point of this month is to not put that pressure on to be or feel or do a certain thing, but it's actually to take those things off so that we can click into that ground root level of what feels good, what feels connected, what feels like you wake up and you're like, holy cow, I am alive and I'm connected and I'm living and I'm able to be in the present moment and enjoy all the things of life that's coming my way. So big stuff we're working on this month, but don't worry, I'm going to be here with you every step along the way, and I've got lots and lots of videos for you to go into even more self-exploration as we discover what your happiness and your joy is all about and how we can increase it and bring it more into your life. If you were with us for the Habits Month, this is just a little refresher video of how we can apply the work that we've been doing that month to this. And if you weren't and you have more questions about how this works or habits in general, feel free to comment below and I can clarify any questions you might have. All right, I will see you all in the next video and I hope your week is going really well so far. I'll talk to you soon.